What's up, everybody? Yep, that's Brent Attaway. If you guys don't know him, we call him the Wizard of Oz. He does all the work in the background. If you guys want to learn a thing or two about follow up, be back in 60 seconds. Let's go.
We are live. Bruce Buffer here, and we're being broadcast around the world. Thanks everyone for joining us on the Solar Objections live action role play. I have the pleasure to introduce a big UFC fan, fellow poker player, Solar Pro, and my friend, Solar Joe.
Let's go. What's up, everybody? We are back for another week. The record is still going on the Solar Objections live stream. I am Solar Joe, and today we got Brent Attaway on the show. If you guys don't know Brent, this guy is like the Wizard of Oz. This guy just does stuff in the backgrounds, the systems, the structure, and he's going to talk a little bit about follow-up today. So, Brent, thanks so much for making time in your busy schedule to be on here, man.
Yeah. It's my pleasure. I'm here to help. I'm excited.
Okay, so I see a little blurriness. I don't know if everybody else sees the same thing, but if not, it's okay. We'll be blurry Brent today, right?
I guess so. I apologize. That's what you get for being in the country here with a whole 20 megabits download and maybe 5 upload. It's like, oh well. All right.
But
Yeah.
you made it, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, and everybody watching, man, if you appreciate Brent making it on here, the middle of nowhere, and getting on here, but appreciate it. Go ahead, get in the comment section, say what's up to Brent, ask him a question. We're going to be talking about system structure, follow up. And I'm sure you guys have a question on that because that's my Achilles heel follow up. And I'm sure there's a lot of other solo pros out there too. So if you guys have any objections you want them to handle, any questions, any comments you want to leave, go ahead right now, go in the comment section. But as always, if you want your name shown, you have to go to the bottom of the post, click on the StreamYards link to give permission to show your name, or it'll just say Facebook user. That's cool if that's what you want. But if you want your name shown, go click on that link. All right. So, Brent, I really appreciate you coming on because one of my Achilles heel is follow up, bro. Like it's annoying. I hate begging people. I hate, trying to convince people that are the unconvincible. And it's hard to know who to follow with and how to have the right system and structure. So is it okay if we do a little bit of a Q&A training on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in.
Let's go.
But yeah, what would be the most helpful to go through, Joe? Are you want to throw the big general question? Is that what we want to do and say, what should we do for follow up, or are there specific things you want me to address that would be helpful?
Bro, I'm telling you right now, I'm sitting in the Solar Pro chair and follow up is annoying as hell. I hate it. I hate follow up. I hate having to beg people like, why aren't they signing up right now? There's no need to wait, right? Sign up now. And if they're not signing up now, like 2 weeks later, it's hard to change somebody's mind who's doing something else, who's having their own life to live. And then it's like you get back on, then it's like another wait. And it's like a never-ending story. So like my first question is, how do you get past that? Just mindset of like the annoyingness of being just following up with homeowners.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I would say that's the first thing. Every time I even talk about or mention follow up, and I'm big on follow up for one major reason, and that is because the fortune really is in the follow up. Like that's a saying we've all heard, and some of us nod at it. Others actually are like, "What? That's bullcrap. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Why? How is the fortune in the follow up? I can just go. By the time I'm following up, I can just go get another lead on the doors or whatever, right?" I hear that quite a bit. But the main thing to focus on here with follow up is understanding that the percent of closing ratio on any industry, that you're doing amazing if you're closing 60% or anywhere between 60% or more. You're doing incredible. Even then, that means your failure rate is 40%. Let's say you're doing 50%, your failure rate is 50%, 50-50, right? Let's say you're closing 33%, you're closing a third. The point is your failure rate's going to be so high over time that it doesn't mean you're failing. I don't mean failure like you suck. I mean, you didn't close everybody. So what happens to all those people? And the more you can wrap your mind around, it's okay, this isn't a competition, your mindset around it's the long game, the more you're going to succeed long term. Now, if you're coming into solar and you say, no, I just want to come in for the summer sales, like because you're from summer sales. By the way, when I say some of this kind of tongue in cheek, Joe, I'm making fun of all of us here. I'm just joking and I'm very sarcastic. So if I offend anybody, you guys are just probably going to need to suck it up.
No, our audience, they never get offended. No, so the pros.
Yeah, no, never. But just know that this is coming from a place where I've built a door-to-door team with my brother. We've also built an online virtual sales team, like an inside sales team. I've done that multiple times and in multiple industries. So this is not coming from just like, oh, here's what my theory is on this. It's what's working now and what works long term. So
you
mindset,
see the numbers. You see the
is
proof.
the first key to understand. Yeah. If you can get your mindset and just have a little bit of like, okay, I'm open to more follow up. I know I'm leaving money on the table, but most people think I'm not leaving that much, and I feel like I'm better focusing just on what's in front of me. And even that coming out of my mouth, I'm better at focusing on just what's in front of me, makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm just like I'm like, guys, come on now. Like, you got to understand, this is a long game. Like, you're not gonna be 22 or 27 or 28 forever. You're not going to be 35 forever. I'm 41. You're going to need to understand how you build this long-term play. So just getting that mindset around it, and maybe the best thing I can do too is just realize that when I say you're missing out or follow-up so essential, and you're making, what's a good income, would you say, Joe, in solar? Annually, if you're working annually on solar, like how much commission like is pretty good, a little above average, would you say?
150,000 should be
the
goal.
Okay, so 150,000 you're getting paid in commissions. All right. If you're getting paid 150,000, you're leaving at least 70 to maybe 80,000 on the table if you don't follow up. So the question is do you go get more leads, or do you just follow up if you want another $70,000 to $80,000 in your bank account? So without getting more leads, just keep getting the same quantity, and now just follow up better. So no more chasing people down or trying to figure out where more are at. You just do 15 to 20 minutes a day of some follow up. Or if you choose, I like doing more like an hour or two a week, and I just block chunks out. I don't have to do it daily. I just do it like every couple of days. I take an hour and follow up. And so once you get it down and you get your mindset around it, it's actually fun. It's not a grueling thing. It's not something you have to dread. You just have to know what to say and who to say it to, and then how you're going to say it, like what mediums to use. Are you reaching out via text, email, all those little things? We can go so much into this, but
bro, let's go into it, man.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm telling you right now, but if anybody's having the issues I have with follow-up, I'm not the only one. This is a predominantly big issue in the industry. And the more we can give, the more help we can give the audience, the more help I will get too. So I'm going to keep picking your brain. But like, it's really becomes like a lot of work, right? Like, yes, you can you have a system to get leads, right? You have a system, everything. But then like when the follow-up is like, it feels like I'm begging people, or that might it's an extra work that's not going to get anywhere. Yes, I get leads from follow-up. I'm not saying I don't, of course, but it's like the work I'm putting into it, it doesn't feel like I'm getting the value back sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, tip number one then, when you're putting in the work, make sure you're not putting in the wrong type of work. That's really what it is. If I were to ask you to dig a hole, and it's going to take some work, and you got to dig the hole either way, the result is the hole must be dug, okay, down to whatever. Let's say it's a 6 foot deep hole. You've got to dig it. Here's how to do it, and that's your job. You like doing it. You just get it done. Got it? All right. Well, if I give you the wrong tool to do it, and I give you some kind of square shovel instead of a post hole digger, and you're trying to do that, you're going to hate it every time you pick up the shovel. You're using the wrong tool. You're using the wrong process. You're going about it wrong. So the tip on what to do though, so I just want to wrap your mind around, like, as soon as you get the right method and system in place, it's actually quite easy. When you go to follow up, most people think follow up is, hey, are you ready now, Joe? You ready to buy solar now? How about now? How about now? And you're like the annoying kid in the back with the parent saying, are we there yet? Like, that's not what you want. That's not the only way to follow up. That's how most people think of follow up when they're thinking on their own.
It's like I think that Family Guy with Stewie is like, mom. It's like, it's annoying.
And I think that's a fear that we have when we're following up. It's annoying to the homeowner. But in the end, I think there's a few essentials to understand. One is, you don't just keep saying, mom, or are you ready now? You actually become a professional. And we're on, Solar Pros groups. There's Solar Pro this, Solar Pro that, there's Solar Objections, there's Solar. But in one thing we all have in common, if we're in solar and we want to be in it at least long-term, let's call long-term 2 years, okay? That's not very long-term to me, but like, let's call it 2 years. You're going to have to become a professional of some sort, okay? And a professional learns more than one way to do something. They understand the scripts. They understand there's more than one method of doing all this madness, right? So you've got to use different scripts. The best thing I could say is education-based marketing. I actually call it marketing. So when you become a solar pro with your follow-up is more like marketing and not sales. So I'd like to define marketing as all the things you do to get somebody to the point of a conversation of sale, like point of sale. Sales is everything you say in that point of sale, everything you're saying and doing to get them to say yes. Marketing is everything you do up to getting them to that point. Okay. So you can call that sales. So like lead generation on the doors, that's marketing. I'm doing marketing right now. Knock, knock, knock. Go to the next door. Knock, knock, knock. Go to the next door. They answer. I'm still marketing. I'm not even selling yet because I'm not even at the point of sale. How am I selling anything? I'm just saying, would you like to schedule an appointment? That's not market. That's not sales. You're not selling anything at all. And what I mean is literally, and I could argue, well, you're selling yourself and you're selling. Okay, that's what we're talking about. The actual product we're trying to sell, Joe, is. Oh, did I cut out, Joe? We good?
You're actually good,
brother.
You're
okay,
good.
We're good. All right. It looked like things cut out. So the actual point of sale is when you're actually trying to say, hey, I want you to buy solar, or I think solar is good for you. Here's why. You sign here. That's what I mean by point of sale. Okay, so let's define that as sales. Everything before that's marketing. If that's the case, then really follow-up is actually really good marketing. And the best type of marketing I know how to do is education-based marketing. And that is, hey, so the first time I talk with you, let's say there's 4, and by the way, there's 4 phases of follow-up. There's, and really, I can define it and send notes to this, I guess, in the future. I have a book literally called Follow-Up Fortunes. So I can have all of this broken down for everybody. Now that should be done in the next month. So we'll see. That's writing a book. Who knows when that freaking thing's going to be done. Yeah. But the point is this. as you break it down, I'm sitting here writing and I'm trying to break it down for everyone. And I'm trying to simplify it because it really is simple, but it can be overcomplicated. And these phases of follow-up in your marketing, it's, well, one in solar or home services in general, just anything you're selling as a home services, right? Well, the first one that you've got is you get the lead, and now you follow up to get them to say yes to an appointment, right? And a lead is not an appointment. There's two differences. A lead is simply, I think I have somebody that might want to talk to me about this. So I have a phone number, I have a name, and I might have their email. I might even have their address.
It's
so
information.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lead. And it's also something, a lead meaning, hey, I think I'm on a path towards someone that might want solar. It looks like a good fit. Let's see what happens. It's not just grabbing a name out of the ethers and saying, I found a lead, right?
It's a prospect.
So your prospect. Okay. Well, that's your first phase of follow-up, is everything you do and say to get them to an appointment. Then you schedule the appointment. There's a small amount of follow-up there. And this is really simple, but if you focus it and divide it into these 4 phases, it's very easy to know how to follow up and what to say. Okay. So phase 2 is, I got the conversation happening. Now what? Now I need to get them to this appointment. And so phase 2 is everything you do for that appointment. Okay. Like after, and then the post appointment. Okay. Now you get them to show up to the appointment, right? And now and you didn't close them. This is assumed, because otherwise there's no follow-up needed in this realm. I know we can follow up to get referrals. I know we can do other follow-up. I'm talking about just the point of get them to buying. Okay. So now, yes, thank you. So now what you're doing is getting them to that close on your follow-up. That, let's say if you're closing 60%, is that doing pretty well in this industry? Would you say 60% is like of your sales?
In home.
Yeah, you're pretty good. If you're closing 60% consistently, I don't mean for the next month, Joe, like because you had good referrals. I mean, you measured from January to December. Yeah, January to December, you sat down with 300 people. Did you close 60% of those people?
There you go.
And if you did, you're an animal. You're actually really good. So if that's the case, you got 40% that you need to do something with. That's your follow-up. So you're like, all right, all these people that said no, they either said no, get out of my house. They said no, not right now. That's solar objections, right? Like they have all these objections. So like every single one, that go through the Facebook group on solar objections and list them all. There is unlimited amount of objections, it seems. But for whatever reason, you didn't close it. Now you got your follow-up there. And then actually like to measure or put that a timeline on your follow-up, by the way. I like to do that for 30 days. So that third phase of follow-up, it's just 30 days. So put a time on it, 30 days after you sat with them and they didn't close. Everything after that, and they still haven't closed, I call long-term follow-up. Just that's your long-term, okay? So you've got those phases. So if everyone's on the same page, then now you can break it apart. You can say, okay, phase 1, this is my follow-up. I got the lead. Here's how I say it. Here's when I say it. And my whole goal is not to get a sale. My whole goal is to get the appointment. That's it. Okay, I got the appointment. My whole goal is to get them to sit, follow up, make sure they see this, educate them here, get them excited about the appointment. Even if if it's the same day, you still have 3 hours to at least send a text and do this and send them this. And that's pretty simple. That's probably the easiest phase, by the way, is phase 2. You're just doing a couple little things to make sure they sit down with you, right? And they're primed to say yes. And then phase 3, that one's the hardest one because you got 30 days to basically change their mind why they said no to you. And then phase 4 is okay, they've told me no for now, but if I'm smart and I play the long game, no now does not mean no forever. And
I would think that the fourth one would be the hardest, the long term, because then you're like they're gone for a distance. At least the third one, you've had some kind of contact in the last 20 days or so, whatever.
In some contexts, it is easier to do the long term or the harder. The fourth one's harder. What I mean by this, though, is your effort and your energy. So your energy that you put into this, you put more energy into phase 3 than you do to phase 4, because phase 4 is like it's very haphazard, easy, automated, and delegated. Like, it's not hard to follow up long term. It's so easy. If you know what to say and when to say it, it's literally like send text. Oh, the email's going out. Oh, wow, it's been a couple of months. I'm going to make one quick phone call, leave a voicemail if I don't get a hold of them. Like, you have no intention. And by the way, on long-term follow-up, all your goal is now, guess what you're trying to do? You're just trying to get them into phase 1 or phase 2 again. That's it. You're not trying to close a sale. You've lost the sale. So your phase 4 is all about getting them back into basically phase 2. It's repeat the process.
Phase 4 just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because like 90% of my follow-up is in phase 4 right now, bro.
Here's what's cool about that. Here's the opportunity. This is why that leads me to this. So think about, understand the compound effect, the actual math behind compound interest, compound. We've all heard, I don't know if you've heard Tony Robbins or any of these guys talk about, I think Jim Rohn did, talk about the I'm not going to go into the math, I promise, because I would suck at doing that live. But you've heard people talk about, if you bet a penny on the first hole of 18 hole golf, and then if you win the second one, 2 pennies, and then you keep doubling it. And by the 18th hole, it's not just a few bucks that you would think it was. It compounds on itself. Well, that's what's happening. The opportunity is, as it starts compounding and this list just gets bigger and bigger in phase 4, your conversion rate actually can stay the same. If you're converting 3% of that big pile and it just keeps getting bigger, you're converting more and more if you keep the same activity going. Right? And so you're doing the same activity, and yet that pile keeps getting bigger, and now you're closing a higher quantity of sales with the same activity, especially if you automate it. So everyone, anyways, I won't go into that. There's some automation, not when I say automation, by the way, let's just say bulk. If you bulk send things, I don't mean automate all these whiz bang things. I just mean, hey, I have 2,500 people in phase 4. How am I supposed to send a text to all of those guys? I don't want to do that. You use a system for that. You don't use your personal phone for that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right.
But yeah, anyways, if you can break it down, what will happen is it's a game. And now you got these phases, and now you're trying to see how much you can convert in each phase, and especially phase 3 and phase 4. That is where you will win a lot more than you thought you could, within a lot less time than you thought it takes to follow up. So I don't know if that's helpful, but go into it.
Yeah, that's super helpful, man. You're really breaking it down. I have my notes. I'm definitely gonna study this. And let's talk about the first step, the lead part, right? Once you get the lead, then you make the appointment, right?
Right.
The follow-up is the same, right? You're just getting them on the phone. Like, what do you do? Like, what kind of systems and structure do you have set in? Do you just have their Solar Pro rely on that step, or when do you start relying on systems to start following up? Is my question, I guess.
Yeah, good question. So let's look at it like you're an individual. So Solar Pro is sitting down. He has no team. He's not part of a dealer or an install team, right? Like they're just a soul, or like a lone wolf. And that's probably the easiest to look at it that way. Because then you can scale from there. So when I sit down, I look at this, what's happening is you're just saying, okay, I have these leads, I'm going to follow up and get them to an appointment. There's 7 ways you can follow up with people. And I don't want to mean this in overwhelming. I just mean there's 7 things you can contact. You got text message, you got email, you got phone call, you got direct mail. And I actually am not naming this in any order. Okay. Like it depends on your audience actually of what you think would get their attention. And usually you can group them quickly too, by the way. So you got direct mail, you've got in person, stop by in person, which is what most people think they have to do, and it overwhelms them. Like if they met them in person, they're like, I got to stop by and follow up. It's like, no, you don't. In fact, you're interrupting their day. Please don't do that. You're going to piss them off.
Unless you really have
and
to.
So, yeah. Like do it, but don't think you got to do that monthly. Don't think you have to do that weekly. You know what I mean? You got to space it out. And then what else? I said text, email, in person, direct mail. Oh, retargeting ads. That's a way of following up. Ads that keep popping up in front of them. You've
Yep.
added them to a group of people that see ads. Man, I'm missing one.
Social
Why
media.
am I missing one, Joe? Oh, yeah, actually it was just message, yeah, direct messaging. So like social media direct messaging, that was the other one. Thank you. So like, hey, I don't have their phone number, right? I may not have their phone number, or maybe I did text them, but I'm going to reach out to them on Facebook Messenger or Instagram, a direct message or something, because you have their contact information. Okay, so those are the ways you can follow up. Go ahead.
I like that you broke it down in 7 ways. That's good for everybody to know, because sometimes we just focus on one way of doing the same way over and over again. Like, we only text, we only call. But remember, I want to go through it again because that's really, really important. 7 ways to contact homeowners: texting, email, phone, snail mail, I like to call it, in person, retargeting, or the social media messaging. All right.
Yep, you got it. Yep. And so from here, that now I know, okay, I know what phase they're in, right? And now I know I'm gonna, and by the way, if the answer is, well, which one do I start with, Brent? I usually start with text almost every time. So if I've already talked with them and I'm just trying to get them to have a positive conversation, I'm texting them. So if, meaning they became a lead, somehow I talked to them on the door or they were referral, that's if I had some kind of conversation already, but I don't have an appointment. I'll text them. Okay, great. If I didn't, let's say it was a Facebook lead, by the way, I think most people have done a Facebook lead. It's kind of weird because they're a lead, but you don't even know how interested they are, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea if they're a hot lead or if they're like, what? I just opted in for this 30 seconds ago. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Totally.
So
Every
that
time.
happens too. Yeah. But let's just say they at least have an idea that it's solar. What you do is you text them. That's probably it. The reason why is it's convenient. If you can focus on them and not you, and you can say, what is the most convenient for them to respond and give me some kind of positive reply, text is probably the easiest way. If they can do it on the go. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's the most normal. Like, just think about our personal lives. How many times do we actually just call somebody out of the blue? We usually like text first, like, hey, I'm going to call you in an hour. I'm going to call you. Like, that's normal for them. So if they get a random phone call, they probably may not answer it. But if they get a text, you know they're going to read it. And it's normal for them to get a text before they get a call anyway, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, that's, I wish we could hear ourselves when we're being that solar bro or solar awesome chick that's like, I close, I'm a hardcore closer. If you could hear yourself in your mind and it was out loud, you would sound like a jackass. Like, that's just the name of the game. So like, no one replies to that type of person, and if they do, it's to get them out of their hair. They're like, sure, let's schedule an appointment. Yeah, right. Am I showing up? You know, like, they don't care about you because you don't care about them. And so, and I know that sounds cliche, you know, people don't know, what's that saying? No, people don't care how much you
care. Yeah, exactly.
know they care much. Yeah, they care how much you care. So like, the point is you have to understand their world first. And as you understand their world, it becomes obvious what you should do. I'm going to text them. And then, and you understand what phase they're in too, the buying phase, if you will. They're just a lead right now. Okay, cool. So now let's skip to phase 2 real quick. I would just text them in phase 1 until you can get a hold of them. It doesn't mean you can't call them, by the way. First text, see if they reply to you, and then jump on the call. Just, hey, thanks for replying to the text. Real quick, I know. And then it's almost like the same pitch that you would on a door for all those that knock doors, right? It's or all those that get a referral. Hey, I know that you shared some interest in solar, and you go into the same pitch you're used to. I'm not going to go into that, right? Like, that's just simple on the phone. And then you say, so the best thing to do is, look, we do this XYZ, we look at your bill, I need that, and we'll get you a free proposal. What time is good tomorrow? Like, you're just setting the appointment. So that's all you're trying to do there. But you first got to get them to reply to you positively so you can have that conversation. Text is best. You got the appointment now. Let's go into phase 2. The best thing I would do out of those 7 things at that point is send an email immediately, because it summarizes and preps them if they'll look at the email. Now, I'm not an idiot. Most people don't look at emails. I get that, okay? So like, just because I'm old does not mean like I look at my emails daily still, by the way, but I look at them once a day, and there's a ton of junk mail in there. There's thousands of emails coming in. It's not like I'm looking at them all either. But if I just schedule an appointment, the likelihood of me opening an email because I was told I'm going to get an email with all the details, the likelihood just doubled. So if I open up, 10%, now there's a 20% chance, if whatever it is. But I find most of our emails, half of them will get opened up. 50% or more will get opened up emails if they've been prepped and they schedule an appointment. They're going to open up an email. Okay, like I'm not talking about cold emails here. And so what's nice about email that's not in a text is a text, Joe, if I send you one of those long ass texts that my wife sends me, you know what I mean? The ones that are like, I love her. I love my wife. Okay. I promise we've been married 20 years, but man, I don't want to read all of that. Okay. So if I send that in my text message, that's an issue for me. My brain's like, oh, come on. If you send that in an email, somehow we're just conditioned. We're just like, sweet, let me read that. And you look over it in your email. You know what I mean? Like, we're okay. You have permission to write a longer thing. Well, the reason why that's nice in an email is you can now do some education. You can now prep them and prime them. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So
that's 100%. I definitely read emails, and I do definitely check my emails. I don't know where this thing is. Like people do. I think actually people check emails now more than ever because ease of it. It's right on their phone. They may not, respond as fast as a text. I think it's a little different, but I think they still see it, right? Or am I going crazy?
Yep. Oh yeah, no, they still see it. Again, you just schedule an appointment. So send the email, confirm it. Then you're sending a text. I don't want to get into this because these are just really, it's a reminder sequence on steroids. It's a reminder sequence of, hey, don't forget about our appointment. But instead of me, just like we talked about, you don't just keep banging on their head. Hey, don't forget our appointment. Hey, don't forget about our appointment. Hey, don't forget about our appointment. They get 5 reminders before the appointment saying, don't forget about our appointment. That's annoying. But if you say, you have a confirmation when, hey, appreciate it. We're talking about this. Watch this video that preps you and it primes them. Watch in the same video, by the way. It's the same video you send everybody. I've trained our inside sales team. Justin Anderson actually does this really well. He sends a video with everyone that uses a pitch deck. Do you use a pitch deck? Not that it's good or bad, but have you used a pitch deck, Joe? Like you're kind of your typical one. Okay. Yeah. I like a pitch deck for sure. Some kind of visual. Well, if I use the pitch deck, the first probably 7 slides is actually your video that you send to them. You literally just give them the pre-pitch of the whole thing. Hey, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're not whatever you like to say in your script we're going to go over these things. We're going to review your bill together. We're going to do these. You give them that video. It's less than a minute long. Okay. You're doing it really fast. And that's in the email. You can text that to them as well and say, hey, I would appreciate if you watch this first, and anyone who's going to be there, any decisions makers that are going to be there, have them watch this. It'll help speed up the process and I won't waste any of your time. And so that helps. That's one. And then after that, you do send the reminder and a PS. PS, if you haven't watched this video, check it out now. So that's it. That's phase 2. That's the easy way. But I'm trying to prime them. My goal is not just to remind them. My goal is to prime. Yeah, so when I get there, they're just like,
yeah, because you're actually building rapport at the same time as you're educating them on how solar works and making it even easier decision for them when it's time to. I love it. Education. Marketing.
Yes, exactly. So here's what I love to relate to on all of this, Joe, is if I have somebody who happens to be one of those that this is one of those solar objections I see often in the group there. It's like they're getting quotes, right? They got 3 people they're sitting down, sometimes that same day, because they're being smart homeowners. They don't want to waste their time. Like, hey, hun, we're gonna meet with 2 people today about solar. They're booking themselves up. They don't have time to do this, but they want to get solar. Yeah. Today's solar day. So let's say I was going up against 2 other, or just 1 other person to keep it simple. Minus price, minus all these things. I'm going to win because I look and feel professional by my follow-up after I book my appointment. I'm going to win their trust. I'm going to feel more organized. And there's just something congruent about this, me sending a video with a nice format and an text, and then a reminder, and then me showing up on time to the appointment, compared to the person that says, hey, I'll be over at 6, and then they send the reminder right as they're leaving the previous house or whatever they're doing, or the grocery store, wherever they just left. They send hey, I'm going to be there, I'm running a little bit late, and then they show up and they're late. I'm sorry, I'm busy. And you try to position yourself. I get all the little methods you can use. I'm sorry, I'm busy, I'm a busy person, da, 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 da. Really, in the end, they still hear jackass. Like they still hear this person that's too busy and too good. And it's about the sales rep being positioned as the authority compared to the sales rep being positioned as a servant. Because really, in the end, that's how you win, is you serve. And so it's not about authority here. You have some authoritative things you got to assume to sell and certain things like that, but you're not trying to come across as I'm better. You're actually trying to come across as on one knee and saying, how can I help you? Like you don't want to come across where you are pushing and being late, and you're breaking their trust in little micro ways. You're breaking their trust. So that's how I would win. I'm going to get off that subject, but I love that post appointment. People lose all the time because they set so many appointments and they don't get them. They don't get them to sit, right? And so that's one way to do really good follow-up to increase your sales.
Does follow-up ever hurt your closing percentage? Because you can start relying on follow-up. They call it the beatback bus. I'm sure you've heard of that before. So does being really good at follow-up hurt your closing percentage? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it could if you rely on follow-up. I don't think it's ever going to. How could it hurt? Let me put it this way. How could it hurt your closing rate if you're still a good closer? You do everything that you do to close, and they still say no, because remember that we're going off the best of the best all over time is closing 60%. And I'll just say above average, 60%. They're doing well, right? Well, if they're still doing that hasn't gone down, then and you can still be great at follow-up. Now, if you're started at 60% and you start doing all this follow-up and it goes down to 40%, yeah, something's wrong. You're getting soft, right? You're relying on that. But actually, what I would measure, by the way, is not the closing rate on the first sit. What I would measure is the quantity of KWs closed. Like that's what I would measure.
It's about installs, right?
Yeah. I would not be measuring my and by the way, I am not a hardcore closer. I'm not somebody who's like I'm a complete wimp. Like like somebody tells me no, like solar objections, I'd be like, okay, well, I'll follow up later. No, I'm not that bad. But I mean, I'm not the best at closing on a one sit thing. I can close, but it's not about that for me. It's not for me. It's not about that because I know I'm still going to win. Not necessarily in my follow-up. It's just if I don't win in that conversation, I'm going to win in my follow-up. So yes, there is a risk of that is the answer. No, it should not be your first concern. Your first concern should be, well, are you measuring how many kilowatts you have installed or how many, however you measure, but is the glass on the roof and how many kilowatts? Like that's how I would measure. And if it's gone up with your follow-up, then keep doing it. If it's gone down, then you need to fix something.
So as you know, a lot of solar pros are lazy. They don't want to do the extra work and they want to rely on systems and structures. Do you suggest that they do rely on it? Do you suggest they do the hard work so they make sure that they, is it really a good idea to just focus on relying on the systems and structure to do your follow-up?
Yes, is the short answer, but no, if you're just getting started. So how do I want to go about that? Let's give it some context. Okay. So at what point do you feel like, Joe, since you know a lot about this, at what point do you feel like somebody's doing pretty well and can start delegating some of their money, their commissions they've earned? How much do you think they need to be earning per month before they're going to reinvest in themselves to delegate? What do you think? Like a real answer would you give? Is it 10 grand? Is it 20 grand that they're earning?
Yeah, I would say 10 grand is a good number to definitely start investing back into your business, into yourself.
Okay, so how many sales or installs is that per month at that point?
So let's say 2, 3, not even, not even that many.
Yeah,
Depending
I mean,
on,
let's say 3. You're getting lower commissions. 3.
yeah,
That
I say
fair?
3.
Okay. All right. So you're telling me after you consistently get 3, this is how, and you can see why I'm answering it this way. If you're consistently getting 3 installs every month for the 4 months in a row, 4 months in a row, not just 3 months, 4 months in a row, and you know you're on a way up, then it's time to delegate and it's time to make a system out of what you're doing. I would hire an SDR, Sam Dog, Rover, whatever, but that stands for Sales Development Rep. You can hire somebody out of the country if you want. You can hire somebody in your backyard. It doesn't matter. I have assistant Kate who does all of the sales development for me, and if I'm following up and so on, for my follow-up, and handles any of the appointments and rescheduling and all of that stuff. A sales development rep is the first thing I would do. In fact, if I'm knocking doors, if somebody said, I'm trying to give all these examples because people ask this a lot. It's like, should I go buy leads to supplement? Or what else should I do? I go, actually, go get a sales development rep. They're $1,000 a month. Take that $10,000 that you're earning, sacrifice one so you can earn another 10. So it's called feeding the goose. People, feed that goose that lays the golden eggs. Like, if it's going to keep laying golden eggs for you, don't steal from it. Don't spend all that damn money. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, reinvest it, put it back in. I don't mean in real estate. That's cool too. But if you're earning 10 grand, you're not earning enough to invest in real estate yet. In this world, you have much more potential. You have in solar world is what I mean by that. In solar, you can earn 25 grand a month if you just work. No systems involved, automations, but it's hard. Once you get to that point, it's like grueling. And I'm not talking the follow-up. I'm just like all the things you've got to do. And so what I would say is get an SDR, and all of a sudden your life just gets better immediately, because all of these lists that you're building of follow-up, or these, in those 4 phases, the SDR is handling for you, and their job's to get them back to phase 2. Their job is to sit there and get a positive conversation. Does that make sense?
So that's like
that's the first thing I do.
So it's pretty much like a virtual assistant that you train to work your system, pretty much.
Correct. A system is something that is scalable. So that's a script. They know the scripts, you gave it to them. They know when to send it, and they know who to send it to. As long as they know those 3 things, it's like, I could train my 12-year-old to do that if he wanted to, but because he's not having to get on the phone. Any of that's delegated back to myself. Like, I take on anything that's personal that needs to be me. But otherwise, it's just a script, and it's just sending out the text. It's sending out the email. It's sending out the direct message on social media. It's whatever it is in your follow-up, right? They can trigger all of that.
Bro, you gave me much more in the audience, much more than I even expected or even thought it was going to happen, man. Do you have anything else you want to leave off with, just about follow-up? Any tips, anything else you want to leave off with before I ask you a couple of questions? I know I have a few more minutes with you, Brent.
You're good. Yeah. I'd say in the end, your long-term follow-up is where you're going to win the most. Don't ignore that. The first 3 phases are pretty simple, because really in the end, it's about 30 days of follow-up all the way through phase 3, right? So phase 4 is that piece where you really, really want to build that out over time. Don't stress over it, because a lot of people, I don't know what to say. It's okay. Think 52 weeks and break it down. And just 52, so at least a year of follow-up, right? And 1 message a week, one method. Well, we just named 7 ways you can follow up, right?
Yeah.
And just use one of the. I mean, the short answer is just use one of those for 7 weeks and then start over. So text, email, phone call. You don't have to use direct mail necessarily, but you can go through all 7 of them and then start again, and then start again. And by the time you do, what's 7 into 52? I don't even know.
Looking through it.
Like about 7 times. About 7 times. You rotate through about 7 times, and you have hit a year. See what I mean? You've sent them about 7 text messages, about 7 emails, about 7 phone calls. And now by the way, you're not this is education-based marketing. I wish I could go into more of that. We could do a whole nother call on that one, but I call that the 3 E's. It's educate, entertain, and engage. Yeah. And as long as you stick with educating and giving them helpful stuff. Frequently asked questions. The should ask questions, like they should be asking this, they just don't even know to ask it. So just go ahead and tell them, like, hey, what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I move? What's going to happen to my PPA at that point, or a loan versus this? Like, go ahead and answer it now, because they like that. But because it's you and it's not a YouTube video that they could look up, it builds that trust with you. You're starting to become the authority over time, and then you have a super signature in there. Well, super signature basically means in your long-term follow-up I'm talking about here, is basically when you're ready to engage with me, here's how we can help you. When you're ready, here's how I can help you. And so you educate, and at the bottom it's like, hey, PS, when you're ready, we're doing this. Oh, by the way, this month we're running a promo on this every time. So it's very under the radar little pitch, a little engagement there. And then in about every 13 weeks, I send a straight up engagement, just like, hey, did you get solar yet? Did you ever end up getting solar? And they're like, you see what I mean? Like, that's it. I'll send that about 4 times a year. So
my last question on follow-up for a long-term follow-up is, do you do other things like a lot of people do, like anniversaries and birthdays and kids and reminders, things like that? Do you add in there, or maybe just for ones that sign up, or what's the difference there?
Yeah, I don't, if they haven't signed up or become a customer yet, I'm not going to be doing any anniversary cut stuff. No. That's how I do referrals. Okay. The referral game is a follow-up game as well. It's more, but I like to separate them. And you could call it referral follow-up or something, but like, it's definitely, you do a referral. That's a whole nother branch of, it's literally the chapter I'm writing right now in my book. Like, about the book. Awesome. Well, and referrals, just most of us think we've asked for the referral, I shouldn't ask again. But and what does that mean? We have to re-engage, and that's called follow-up. And so there is referral follow-up where you're like, okay, hey Joe, thanks for that referral last time. It worked well, thank you. And you might pay them or give them some kind of gift card. And now they're not just going to give you another referral. They're busy. They have a life. So like, you have to follow up again. And then yes, there is a way to follow up. That's when I would send anniversary things. That's when I would find out their anniversary, their birthday. And I literally just straight up ask, hey, look, I like sending you cool stuff in the mail on your anniversary and your birthday. What are those? And I'll have them fill out a form, and then what's your favorite candy bar? And then that on their anniversary, send them a candy bar. On their birthday, send them a candy bar, whatever. But there's a lot of ways you can do. I use more direct to mail when it comes to customers and referral based stuff.
I never use direct mail, so that's good to know. Note to self: need to start using direct mail. People still use, like, especially people who have been around for a while, use the snail mail still, right? Yep,
yeah, dude. There's nothing like every welcome package that we sent when somebody would sign up, Joe. It's a cool thing to do for anybody listening. This is not necessarily it's like post-sale follow-up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Send them something in the mail that's 3D mail is what I call it, or what I learned to call it. And when it Switched to Solar was the company that my brother and I started in San Diego, and it's a dealership. And since then we've sold it. We can go into that another time. But the point is when we started that, one of the main things was when they sign up, we want to wow them. Like, they just signed paperwork, we want them to stick. And so we'd send them a package, and it had a little superhero in it. And it has this other insert saying, hey, you just saved this many things, trees or whatever, all this cool environmental stuff. That's great. And then it has a superhero inside of it. And then that was pretty much it. That was the welcome packet, at least. And that little welcome packet would have that. Well, that superhero they would stick on their window seal on something. They would put it, or they'd give it to their grandchild or whatever. But we had people send a picture of it back to us. They text it. We didn't even ask them. They text us and say, hey, I got your superhero. And it was sitting on there. One person, it was sitting on their window seal. The other one, it was sitting on their mantle above the fireplace, whatever you call that thing above the fireplace. Mm-hmm. And now every time they look at that, what do they think of?
You.
They think of solar. They think of you. So direct mail has a power like no other. Because, by the way, text message, as much as the more convenient it is, it's effective to get in front of them, but it's the easiest thing to forget. So like the more convenient, look at how convenient it is to get in front of somebody, the easier it is for them to forget you. So like I forget when my mom has texted me, like she texts me, or my wife, and I'm like, oh, I need to get back to that. Oops, forgot. You know, like I've opened the text and I didn't reply. But when there's a little thing in front of me, it's constantly nagging at me, like, oh, yep. And then I ask for a referral, and then they, oh yeah, I just saw that. I was just looking at this. It reminded me I do need to send you a referral or whatever it is, right? So that's a quick tip. You can call that follow-up, but it's definitely with snail mail type stuff. That one's a really good one to stay in front of people.
I call that gold. That's a gold nugget for everybody. Add that to your game right away. You'll get some more referrals, I promise you. Hey, Brent, I only got a few more minutes with you. I got some comments I want to get in. Guys, if you have any more questions for Brent, jump in right now. I'm going to the comments right now. Go ahead. This is your opportunity. Jump in there. So first, we got a couple of comments I want to throw in, and then I'll let you go, Brent. But Miss Christy Attaway wanted to jump in and say, hey, Joe and Brent. I think she should be on here too. She might be giving us some lessons here too. Little Burry still looks good. See, there you go. Actually, yes. I want to finish. I want to go with some of her comments because she was talking about follow-up. She said, Christy King Attaway said, I love follow-up because it feels low-key. I like the way you spell low-key. She added like a game, especially if you have a good attitude and strategy before you start your follow-up work. I mean, if that's not good advice, I don't know what is. And she adds, I like follow-up because it feels like a game that I want to win. So if I go about it with that attitude, then it's not a drag. That's gold right there from Christy. You want to add anything there?
That
Brent?
Is hilarious. I'm just going to laugh. My face is turning red right now because it's my wife commenting on this. Oh my gosh. But by the way, she sells solar and she does appointment conversation. She has sold 7 deals virtually in a week, her third week of selling solar. So she's pretty dang good. And she's really good. Frankly, she doesn't love it, which I love about her. She likes sales and she's good at it, but her thing is fitness. And so she likes to do solar kind of on the side, you know, and she's an amazing mom. So it's, she's got to balance it out. But the point is it's funny to look at this and just realize this actually is coming from somebody who's experienced right now. So
shout out, Christy.
Well, cool.
Great job, man. There's a couple of comments more I want to add in here. Facebook user said, yes, in the immediate follow-up, that I'm guilty of not doing well. I'm not the only one. You see, Brent? You're helping out a lot of people here.
I get you.
Justin Henson said, I always follow up with my old leads before I hit my new leads. What do you think? Good idea?
I don't know what he means by that. Actually, I don't like meaning. Is he mean that in a day?
Starts backwards.
Period.
I think it starts backwards.
Yeah.
From the oldest to the newest. I don't know if that's what he means.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he means that. I don't know what he means or if he's asking for advice, but I just start with the hottest to the coldest. I mean, that's the easiest, right? So no matter where you're at in your follow-up, as soon as you get a reply, you're on top of it. And my SDR, Kate, she's on top of it. It's immediate. Like you don't let those go cold again. If somebody texts you, get back to them in 15 minutes if you can, right? I can't. So I can't always be in 15 minutes. So you have to have somebody on top of it, right? And then Kate's like, hey, I just had somebody reply. They're ready to set an appointment. And a lot of times she'll be like, but I don't see anything on your calendar. Like, oh, well, let's open it up. You know, like, so she's handling that for you. But she's working backwards with her whether it's old leads or new leads, it doesn't matter.
All right, let's go to the next comment. Just want to move it along here for you. Get you out of here. Always the next immediate step, 100%. So Miss Ruth Zone has a question for you, but a couple of comments first. She has to add in first, yes. You know, Ruthie G, love your mindset. And she wanted to say that she sold a system from a follow-up that never went solar after a year.
Those are my favorite.
Those are the ones.
Weird? Like that turns me on.
It's like finding money in your pocket.
A year. I followed up a damn year and got this sucker. Like, that's fun. Like, anybody can follow up the next day. But I went at this thing for a year.
If that's what motivates you to go after your old leads, nothing will, right? It's the truth. Okay, so Ruth does have a question for you. She says, my question for Brent, she meant, is what is his goal for the next 2 years in business? Where does he want to be, or ultimate goal for the long run?
Oh, man. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart. 2 years. That's a short game for now. 2 years is like, all right. So within 2 years from now, I definitely want to be where we have our own call center, small call center, like somebody dialing and setting appointments, a couple people in there. I already have this, by the way, like, and I know how to build this and so on. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, if I was going to really, my goal is to usually back out of the process. I get in the way. So I am not a salesperson, which means if you want me to go sell, I'm going to get in the way. I'm going to break everything. I'm like a bull in a china shop. Is that the right term? Like, I'm just like, yeah, let's sell. And I just break everything. So it's better that I stay out on the back end, that like you mentioned, the Wizard of Oz type thing. Like, I like being in the back seat, like behind the curtain. So for me, Ruth, it's about building systems, about building process. We just sold our business, our dealership, and our switch to solar company. That just sold 5 months ago. So it's actually interesting. I'm in that development stage of things. Right now, and Joe, this might answer some of your questions that we were talking about too, is my background is not in solar. I've been in the marketing automation, business development, consulting other business owners for the past decade. So that's what I'm used to and what I'm doing. And I'm finding myself kind of coming full circle back to it, but in the home services world. So I'm building a team and processes and things around home services, to not just solar. So I'm building up that whole process. In 2 years, it's not just going to be solar, Ruth. That's the easiest answer I have for you. So we're doing other things, is what I mean by that.
Great question, Ruth, and great answer. Awesome, man. And I'm glad you came to the solar industry, man. You're definitely a big influence and a big help in the industry, I noticed. I see a lot of your posts, and you're always giving value, information, and just helping out people and asking for nothing in return, Brent. So I really appreciate that of you, man. And Ruthie G says, I love that, Brent, too. A couple of comments and then a question. Jordan Anthony said, whoop, whoop. All right. So we got a question from Facebook user. He wants to know, or she wants to know, what about people that don't want solar because they can't get 100% offset? It's kind of like an objection question. Do you want to get into it or not?
Yeah, I mean, sure. We're gonna have to make some assumptions. Like, what I'm guessing, since we're talking follow-up, we're asking, what about people? How do we follow up with people that you didn't close it because they can't get 100% offset? Is that a good one to run with, Joe?
You go.
Do you think we'll have to make the assumption that's what they're asking? I didn't close the deal. It's not 100% offset. And let's say that's the reason why I didn't close it. How do I follow up with them?
Yeah.
Is that more of the context? I don't know how to answer that otherwise. But I mean, frankly, the answer would be, well, one, you can still sell them without 100% offset. Sell smart, don't gouge, don't do anything stupid. Like, give them what's best for that home, right? And the future homeowner, even, not just that current homeowner. That's the easy answer. Otherwise, follow up with them later. Many times with this offset, that it could be trees. It could be shading, in other words. I don't know. So it's hard to answer that all the way, Joe, but I would just say you can still follow up. If it was trees, let's pretend it was trees. I'd follow up again and this, I don't want to trim those trees. And in a year, they might be begging to trim those trees because branches are falling on the roof and so on. You're like, hey, I can help you with that. You know, a lot of reps wrap in tree trimming or tree services with their sales services. So just saying, that's my best answer for now.
I'll even add in there, sometimes as solar pros, we get new solar panels in the inventory, and they may be a little more powerful than the last ones you quoted. So a little excitement about the new panel that just came out might be intriguing enough for homeowners to respond, right?
Yes. In fact, Joe, that's awesome, man. I need to put that in that needs to be part of our follow-up, frankly. If you program that in, I need to ask Kate to do that. Say, hey, Kate, every time we get a new panel that comes out, follow up and say, hey, it's just a good way to get in front of somebody. Hey, new panels just came out. We can now get this much power on the roof. It's just a way to start the conversation, so because a lot of those customers like the new gadgets.
Yeah, any reason to be excited, because you always want to give good news to the homeowner, right? Just give them good news. You got some good news.
It's awesome.
All right, so we got Eddie Fernandez wants to jump in. He said, just got on. Can you start over, please? Go for it, Brent.
Yeah, let's start it over, baby. There we go. Step one.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate you jumping on, man. And then we got Jake Hess wanted to jump in with his comment. Brent has changed everything for me in business, and I can't thank him and Bennett enough. I owe them so much for the value they provided. Pretty big statement. What do you think, Brent?
Jake, first, thanks, man. Same to you. Jake has definitely helped us with Solar Academy, frankly. So that was before, whether it matters or not, it is good for context. Joe, you and Jake partnered up with Solar Academy fairly recent, right? And we had hired actually Solar Academy and Jake a year ago, October last year. And so we got systems in place and got things going, and Jake's helped us do a lot of things that we weren't doing, and that we enhanced it, and it's been awesome. That's frankly what helped us sell our company. Part of what helped us sell our company is we got some final systems in place and got that going, and then we got into a conversation with another company, and they're like, yeah, we like that. Please install all of what you're doing into our company. And so they acquired us that way. So it's been a huge value as well. So thank you, Jake. And then Bennett, don't thank Bennett. He's my younger brother. You just, like, come on. Bennett didn't do anything. We all know this. Just joking. Bennett's a stud, by the way. That's my sarcasm. Bennett's awesome.
Yeah, no, Jake definitely knows his stuff. I'm glad we were able to help you out with the Solar Academy. It's an amazing story, and I love that testimonial. And another comment said, thank you, guys. Brent, I'm not going to take too much more of your time, man. You gave me more than an hour already, but I got one last question for you, and it really comes down to, how can anybody reach out to you? Any last thoughts you want to leave off with? This is your stage for whatever you want to leave off with the audience.
Yeah, sure. No, first, just thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I know you offer a lot of value, and people see that, so they show up to things like this and they want to get value. So my goal is to bring the value. I know we're just talking. I understand we're talking like up in the air things here. Like a lot, it's very hard to get on live for an hour and break down not just a process, right, Joe, but then give them actionable items right now. It's hard to do all of it in one. And so that's why that's partly why I'm just writing a book, so I can put it all in one thing. Just on follow-up, frankly. It'll have more, like on referrals and referral follow-up. But the point is that's one way I'm going to be able to help do that. But two, if I can leave you with something, if you haven't yet, Joe, we'll just have to put it in the comments somewhere. I can put a link to it. But there's a thing called magic text formula. I created this for our sales reps in San Diego. If everybody knows, not everybody, but most everybody. If you don't, you should. Earl, Mr. Earl Capule, Mr. Gratitude, right? Earl is, we were going over some of this. Earl is on our team, by the way. So Earl is on our sales team in Switch to Solar. Him and like Taylor Armstrong at Solarpreneur. All these guys are on our team. We're super blessed to have these big dogs, so to speak, right? And one thing we were always doing is follow up, because they're getting leads. They already knew how to get leads on the doors. They knew how to get referrals. And Earl used this magic text to send it out. It's one text. You send out, it's like, I think it's like 8 words or 10 words. You send it out, and he literally gets the response back. These are a long-term follow-up, by the way, long-term, phase 4, okay? And when you send this magic text out, you'll get replies back, and then you get them re-engaged with you. And one of Earl's replies he got, I kid you not, he's Earl, you must have a sixth or seventh sense. I was just talking to my wife about this. We would like to discuss this further. So like it works. In other words, it gets people re-engaged, even gives you that sixth or seventh sense. That's why I call it the magic text. But I'll send you that. I broke it down into a formula, and I also have a video training. It's free, but I'm not trying to sell you something. Just get in there, I'll send that link. And then what they can do is when they implement, all I ask if I'm giving it away is post what replies you get. Blur out their name and post the replies, because I love seeing that stuff. It's my favorite thing to see what replies, even some of the funny ones like go away, like whatever it is. But I love seeing the replies. I'm being nice when I say go away, right? Yeah. But like I love all those replies, because it really does work, and you'll see that it's that simple. It's just one way you can see follow-up is not hard. It is something that's simple. And if you're like Christy, you can make a game out of it. You can have a good attitude about it, and it's actually quite fun to kind of win that game. So
that's awesome, Brent. Again, man, thank you so much. I think the audience really appreciates you, the value you bring in, not just today, but just in the industry. I'm really excited about your book. Please let us know when the book comes out, bro. That's something we all need. I especially need myself. So thanks so much. And everybody watching, we only got 7 more live streams till the rest of the year. And I'm not sure what's going on for 2022. So definitely get on these live streams every week. Brent Attaway, we had on today, everybody. Thanks so much, Brent, for being here, man. We definitely got to collaborate more, and maybe we'll get you on one of these webinars or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right, Brent, we'll talk. All right, guys, later. We're out. Peace.